Breaking tonight, round 2 is in the books as the Republican presidential hopefuls face off for just the second time in campaign 2016. Welcome to a special live midnight edition of the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. Tonight, the candidates took questions on key issues at home and abroad, as all attempted to make a name for themselves in this crowded field. Several tried to land a punch on Donald Trump, and he gave it right back in a debate that often seemed aimed at starting a fight.
First of all, Rand Paul shouldn't even be on this stage.
His visceral response to attack people on their appearance, short, tall, fat, ugly. My goodness, that happened in junior high. Are we not way above that?
Mr. Trump, we don't need an apprentice in the White House. We have one right now.
If I were sitting at home and watching this back and forth, I'd be inclined to turn it off.
As far as being an outsider concerned, let me tell you this, Jay. I am a Republican in New Jersey. I wake up every morning as an outsider.
I am extraordinarily concerned about the direction of this country, the divisiveness that is going on, the fiscal irresponsibility, the failure to take a leadership position in the world.
I give you my word. If I'm elected president, every single Supreme Court justice will faithfully follow the law.
1 second.
No.
I didn't want to
get you cannot take
more energy tonight. I like that.
If the United States military is going to be engaged by a commander-in-chief, it should only be engaged in an endeavor to win. And we are not going to authorize use of force if you're not putting men and women in a position where they can win.
We made accommodation to the Fort Hood shooter, to the detainees at Gitmo, who killed Americans. You're telling me that you cannot make an accommodation for an elected Democrat county clerk from Rowan County, Kentucky?
If someone's been in a system their whole life, they don't know how broken the system is.
Wow. We have a jam-packed show for you tonight, complete with one of the men who just stepped off of that stage, Dr. Ben Carson, who has been surging in the polls of late. Plus, Chris Stirewalt, Howard Kurtz, Mark Thiessen, and Dana Perino, all here. But we begin tonight with Frank Luntz and his focus group for their take on this evening. Frank?
We got 29 voters. 27 of the 29 walked in here saying that their votes could change. I want to do a tally. How many of you came in here supporting Donald Trump? Raise your hands. How many of you leaving here will leave supporting Carly Fiorina? Raise your hands. Megyn, I want to show you one clip that basically said it all. The questioner asks Fiorina what she thinks of what Donald Trump said about her. Let's take a look at the dials because this said it all for tonight's debate.
Donald Trump said the following about you, quote, "Look at that face. Would anyone vote for that? Can you imagine that, the face of our next president?" Mr. Trump later said he was talking about your persona, not your appearance. Please feel free to respond what you think about his persona.
You know, it's interesting to me, Mr. Trump said that he heard Mr. Bush very clearly and what Mr. Bush said. I think women all over this country heard very clearly what Mr. Trump said.
I think she's got a beautiful face, and I think she's a beautiful woman.
All right, on that note, in less than 2 minutes, we're going to take a very quick break.
So you saw the lines, you saw the reaction using these dials. I want a word or phrase to describe Carly Fiorina based on tonight.
Well, it's more than one word. I think she made him backtrack and made him look like an insincere fool.
I think it's a schoolyard got you back, and it's basically meaningless.
Word or phrase?
She's savvy and authentic.
Resolute and classy.
Smart and strong.
Solid.
Very strong.
Very focused.
Sharp.
Only one person gave me one word, so thank you. What was so positive about her challenging Trump? I was watching you, and you were like, yeah, go, girl.
Well, it's I guess it's a woman thing, but it was very street savvy of her to come that, and still very stoic of her to not go at it and still kind of give it to him.
Why did she do so well there?
She was so well prepared. She spoke with authority. She handed it right back to him. She made everybody eat everything.
She was short and sweet. 2 words or 3, and she had it
then she shut up. She knew exactly what she was saying.
You walked in here.
Witty and quick on her feet.
Now, you walked in here a Trump voter.
I did.
What was so powerful about Fiorina's performance? Go ahead.
She was prepared, and she responded really quick.
Bobby.
We've all been attracted to Donald Trump's strength, but tonight was the downfall, or that was the problem tonight, because we've all been bothered by his personal attacks. And she directly approached that and directly dealt with it.
How many of you have an issue? Because a lot of you laughed at the comments that he made, and I know you laughed earlier in the campaign, at least some voters did, about what he said about others. How many of you had a problem with that tonight? Raise your hands. So you think he goes too far. But I want to focus on her. What is it about her? Is it her persona? Or how old are you?
22.
So this will be your second vote.
Yes.
Was it her persona or her policies that you're attracted to?
It was less the substance. I think it was more exactly of what got President Obama into office. It was more of how she said it. And I thought how she said it, she was quick, she was efficient, she used words very precisely.
Policy or persona?
Persona. She presented herself very well.
No, you're saying no. Why not?
I think it was absolute policy. I think she was prepared with her facts. I think she knew what she wanted to do. I think the persona part's just her.
Yeah, she was poised, prepared, and of the group, her and Christie were the only ones that didn't seem flustered under pressure. And everyone else did.
We're going to get to more in the second segment. How many of you thought Christie did a good job? Raise your hands. How many of you thought Rubio did a good job? Raise your hands. So those were the other two. But before we leave, what advice would you give to Carly Fiorina going forward?
Enumerate more on her policy. I think I love her initially because she doesn't back down, but she supports it with sound policy.
Go ahead.
Keep doing what you're doing.
So for you, it's perfection. In the back.
She speaks to us in layman terms that we understand and can connect with, and just without expounding bullshit.
Does anyone have any negative thing to say about her?
No.
No. One person and 29 people. Go ahead.
I wouldn't call it negative, but what I would say is that she's proven that she can attack and she can counterattack, but she hasn't really proven that she can build relationships yet, and I want to see that in my president.
Advice?
I still don't trust that she may not be able to be bought by lobbying.
David?
Yeah, I would say, Carly, be tenacious, be confident, and keep it up.
Last comment.
Carly's got $68 million. She's not going to be bought by anybody.
So how many of you are going to vote for her leaving here tonight? Megan, when we come back later on the show, I'm going to show you 2 or 3 of the best sound bites, and we're going to get into the other candidates, what they did well, and the mistakes that they made.
Looking forward to it, Frank. Thank you. Sorry for the bad word. Chris and Howie heard it, too. Chris Direwald's here, Fox News digital politics editor, and Howard Kurtz, host of Fox News Media Buzz. All right, let me start with you, Direwald. Who are the winners?
Well, everyone, if we're allowed to start using that word on your show. But Carly Fiorina, yeah, clearly that's a no-brainer. She very clearly won the debate. Marco Rubio had a good debate. He had a very solid performance. As Donald Trump pointed out, Jeb Bush found a way to be a little less low energy, got the energy up a little bit, but and several people did credit to themselves. But I got to say, for Donald Trump, who for the first time was made to back down and not do anything in consequence in return. So, yeah, he beats up on Rand Paul about how he looks, and he fights with Jeb Bush, and he does the usual thing. But here's the significance with Carly Fiorina. She made him back down, and he didn't get any. There was no transaction in it. He just said, "You're beautiful," and that's as close as he's ever going to get to saying he's sorry.
You know, it was amazing, too, to see the dials go down when he tried to save it by complimenting her, because, you know, they found it to be insincere. But wait, I want to focus on that moment, because there was a dust-up right off the top of the debate between Trump and Rand Paul. Let's watch it.
First of all, Rand Paul shouldn't even be on this stage. He's number 11. He's got 1% in the polls, and how he got up here, there's far too many people. Anyway, as far as temperament, and we all know that.
I think really there's a sophomoric quality that is entertaining about Mr. Trump. But I am worried. I'm very concerned about having him in charge of the nuclear weapons, because I think his response, his visceral response to attack people on their appearance, short, tall, fat, ugly. My goodness, that happened in junior high. Are we not way above that? And would we not all be worried to have someone like that in charge of the nuclear arsenal?
Mr. Trump,
I never attacked him on his look, and believe me, there's plenty of subject matter right there. That I can tell you.
But Jake,
I want to give Mr. Trump.
Chris is laughing. What did you make of it? Was it an effective comeback?
Well, I mean, look, it's an effective comeback. The Trump brand is never back down, never ask for forgiveness, never apologize, only attack, never apologize. And it works to the degree that people hate politicians, and if he's killing politicians, then that's fine. And if you're killing a U.S. senator and basically saying you're funny looking, but I'm being a nice guy and not telling you that maybe works some. But here's the point. Over time, people tire of those kind of attacks. And for Fiorina, who did acquit herself so well, and who is a woman, and who also is not a politician, or at least wasn't until now, that makes it a lot harder.
And was just sort of calling, without, playing the victim, just sort of said, right. you all know what he meant. And, that's what you've heard in many corners lately with respect to that comment. Howie, let me talk to you because first let me ask you who you thought the winners were.
Well, Carly Fiorina, very deftly used a scalpel instead of a sledgehammer against Donald Trump, and that "you're a beautiful woman" is as close as you're ever going to get to an apology from Donald J. Trump. I thought other people had good nights. Chris Christie had some nice moments. Marco Rubio had some nice moments. But I hear a lot of commentators saying, well, Trump didn't provide specifics and he didn't dominate the way he did the first debate. That's pundit talk. Remember that Donald Trump is the front runner, that he was being attacked from all sides, that after that insult exchange with Rand, he kind of toned it down, and he didn't commit any major gaffes. So I'm not sure, in the eyes of his followers, that he really hurt himself.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he really hurts himself with his followers, really pretty much no matter what he does. But at some point, he has to, expand that number. His numbers have been going up in the polls, but, you want to reach out to more than just your core group in order to wind up with the nomination. Let's talk about this moment, because Chris Christie, he was on the show last night. I said, what do you do? He had a strategy. He says, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to go out there and be Chris Christie. And this, according to Twitter, was one of his best exchanges. But more importantly than Twitter, Howard Kurtz likes this a lot. Watch.
Jake, listen, while I'm as entertained as anyone by this personal back and forth about the history of Donald and Carly's career, for the 55-year-old construction worker out in that audience tonight who doesn't have a job, who can't fund his child's education, I got to tell you the truth. They could care less about your careers. They care about theirs. Let's start talking about that on this stage and stop playing the games. John, I'm not done yet, John.
A track record of leadership is not a game. It is the issue in this election.
Carly, listen, you can interrupt everybody else on the stage, you got to interrupt me, okay? The fact is that we don't want to hear about your careers, back and forth and volleying back and forth about who did well and who did poorly. You're both successful people. Congratulations. You know who's not successful? The middle class in this country who's getting plowed over by Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Let's start talking about the O's issues tonight and stop this childish back and forth between the two of you.
Ms. Fiorina, I want to give you...
Howie, why'd you like it?
A very strong moment by the governor of New Jersey, because there was so much back and forth encouraged by the moderator, Jack Tapper, that it was a way of pivoting the conversation back to you, the voter, for some people who might be tired of all the sniping. At the same time, while Christie was able to do that, Jeb Bush certainly was not low energy as he had been in the first debate. Even Trump admitted that. But I thought he was awkward in some of his exchanges with Trump. There were a lot of swings and misses. And the one guy on that stage who declined several invitations from the CNN moderator to attack Donald Trump was Ben Carson. But by doing that, he was high-minded, he was sober, his fans will like that, but he kind of disappeared for long stretches because if you didn't fight your way into this debate, you didn't get a lot of questions.
What did you make, before I let you go, Chris, of the weirdness that occurred between Donald Trump and Hugh Hewitt?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, with all due respect to Hugh Hewitt, Donald Trump, he was repeating stuff that Hugh Hewitt had said about an exchange, and it was like batting of the eyes on Hewitt's part.
Well, I sympathize with Hugh's position. He was trying to get that over with. He was trying to get that done. He had made his apology to Trump, and he had wanted it to go away. But the fact that Trump drove the bus all the way back around the airport again and crushed over Hewitt one more time, you really stink on ice, Hewitt, you third-rate radio announcer.
I know.
And it's like, can this be over? And of course, unfortunately, the way they had the debate set up, they only gave Hewitt and they only gave Bash just a couple of minutes here and there. They were bit players in the thing, and so that's what Trump did to him. And I heard it's tough to moderate a debate with Donald Trump in it. If you know anybody who knows
Trump
anything
says,
about that, let me know.
I'm the best guest of all time, right, Hugh? I'm the best guest of all time.
I know, and Hugh was like, you are. It was honestly, it was like, oh, God. There were a couple cringe-worthy moments, but you know what? It's live television, and it's always tough. Exactly. Like already tonight on this show, we've had to swear. Okay, great to see you. Thank you, guys. So what did Dr. Ben Carson think about the debate and how he did? And his exchange that's already making headlines on vaccinations that he had with Donald Trump when it comes to autism. Did the two of them really see eye to eye? We'll ask Dr. Carson next. And then Mark Thiessen and Dana Perino are here on why they think one of the biggest moments of the night had to do with someone who was not on that stage. Plus, our focus group seemed to like Carly, and there are a lot of Trump fans in the crowd. But when they return, we'll get their take on the other big winners tonight.
I have an understanding of exactly what it is Russia and Putin are doing, and it's pretty straightforward. He wants to reposition Russia once again as a geopolitical force. He himself said that the destruction of the Soviet Union, the fall of the Soviet Union, was the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century. And now he's trying to reverse that.